Good morning and welcome to our weekly press conference. Today we have three topics. The first is to encourage everyone to complete the census before the end of next month. Second, we're going to present the new way to obtain dog licenses and other city services. And third, we're going to reflect on the Water Authority agreement from last night. I'm excited to announce that we have seen a major uptick in residents completing their civic duty and completing the census. However, we're still undercounted by about 38% of Erie's population. We need to get that count up. We have 11 census tracts within the city that are still reporting at or below 50%. Frank will now bring up a map of the city that shows the self-response rates per tract. We're finding a lot of people are not aware that there are 316 federal programs that allocate funding to municipalities based in census. And but these 11 that are like pink or orange, those 11 census tracts are all below 51% reporting. So more than half the people in those 11 census tracts have not reported yet. The funding we get from HUD for community development block grants, emergency solutions, and home funds are all based on the city's population. This money that we receive from the federal government goes right back out into the community we serve. Most people don't realize this, but the city now provides CDBG funding for all 4 neighborhood centers for after school and summer programming. Out of the 2020 federal HUD budget, we committed $280,000 of that to the Booker T. Washington Center, the Martin Luther King Center, the JFK Center, and the Urban Erie Community Development Corporation. And this does not include the supplemental COVID funding that we allocated to the Minority Community Investment Coalition to continue their food drive, and additional funds were provided for homeless shelters and healthcare during this pandemic. In addition, this year, we are also providing federal funding to Bethesda Trinity Center, the Boys and Girls Club, GCAC, MCRC, International Institute, Nurturing Hearts, St. Martin's Center, Erie Community Human Relations Commission, the YMCA Downtown Y Teen Center, the Erie City Mission, HANDS, Serve Erie, CDBG, Paramount Pursuits. If our funding is cut, these are just some of the programs that will be directly impacted. There are 9 historically Black Greek letter organizations that make up the National Pan-Hellenic Council. Together, these organizations are referred to as the Divine Nine. Each of these fraternities and sororities is rich in history, ties one to the other, and more of these organizations may be found in many college-educated black families in the United States. Now, I'm real happy to introduce Homer Smith to the podium to tell us more about the Historically Black Affiliations Advisory Group. Homer.
Thank you, Mayor Schemberg. Good morning. My name is Homer Smith. And just a little bit about the HBA, the Historically Black Affiliations Group, which is comprised of the Divine Nine organizations, with Alpha Phi Alpha being the first organization founded in 1906 at Cornell University, and Iota Phi Theta, founded in 1963. I am a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, founded in 1911 on the campus of Howard University. Along with Alpha Kappa Alpha, Kappa Alpha Psi, Delta Sigma Theta, Phi Beta Sigma, Zeta Phi Beta, and Sigma Gamma Rho. In addition, the Prince Hall Freemasonry Bay City Lodge number 68, the oldest African-American fraternity in the world, and the Improved Benevolent Order of the Elks, Gem City Elks Lodge 328 and Ozell Temple 317, comprise the HBA Historical Black Affiliations Group. I am encouraging the 2020 census, everyone to complete the 2020 census. Your response helps to direct billions of dollars to federal funds to local communities like our schools, the Children's Health Insurance Programs, CHIP, SNAP, and WIC, just to name a few. Completing the census is fast and easy and is strictly confidential. Please do your part in ensuring that these federal dollars get back to our community by completing the census before the September 30th deadline. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Homer. I appreciate you being here, and Homer will be available for questions after we're completed. The work that HBA does here in Erie is really excellent, and I extend my thanks to everyone in those 9 groups. A census undercount will also negatively impact implementation of Erie Roof Focused, including our neighborhood blight removal, demolition and code enforcement, curb cut installations, street paving, the downtown streets master plan, parks and playgrounds, tree planting and removal, summer recreation programs, community policing initiatives, economic development grants to small businesses, commercial facade grants, home rehab funding, and first-time home buyer assistance programs. There are obviously a lot of programs that get impacted by this federal money. Each person who does not report will cost us about $2,100 per year, every year, for the next 10 years. Erie's county's population is a little under 300,000. Given the influx of immigrants and refugees we have experienced over the course of the last 10 years, the county's response rate is currently 71.4%. If we hit only 80% of the county, we would miss about 60,000 residents. That means the county, the city, the public schools, and many of our authorities would lose around $1.25 billion, that's billion with a B, over the course of the next 10 years. Plus, we will lose congressional representation and electoral college votes. This would be a devastating impact on our community. Voting and getting people to complete the census are the 2 most important things we can get people to do this year, in addition, of course, to practicing safe COVID-19 protocols. Employees from the U.S. Census Bureau began going door to door on August 11th to households that have not completed the census. However, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, many people may not open their doors to someone they don't know. The census is your constitutional duty, and we are in the middle of a pandemic. That's a problem. I encourage everyone to complete the census before a census taker has to come to your door. With the announcement on August 3rd that the U.S. Census Bureau is ending all census operations on September 30th of this year, a month earlier than originally planned, we are in a full court press right now. To give added motivation to complete the census, we created 2 citywide contests. So after you complete the census, City of Erie residents should go to censuserie.com, where you can enter to win 2 things. One is a weekly drawing for $100 in gift cards to City of Erie businesses and restaurants. Those will go every week till September 28th. And then there'll be a grand prize drawing after September 30th of $1,000 in cash after the census is complete. I hope we can count on everyone to complete the census quickly. Next, the City of Erie's Treasurer's Office has been working hard to complete their processes in a digital fashion. This eliminates the need to visit City Hall to make tax payments, pay fees, or apply for dog licenses. As a resident of the City of Erie, you have been able to purchase a dog license in 3 ways historically: from City Hall, from the Humane Society of Northwest Pennsylvania, or from the Anna Shelter. Now, you can apply for a dog license online. To apply, go to the City of Erie website, which is cityof.erie.pa.us, and search for dog license in the search bar. Or you can scroll to the Residents tab and click on Services. It will be listed there. License fees are between $6 and $8 per dog per year, depending on whether your pet is spayed, neutered. A discount is available, though, for seniors. If the dog owner is a senior, which is age 65 or older, or a person with a disability, you must provide proof of age or disability to the city treasurer or the Humane Society. Upon request, a copy of the spay-neuter certificate must also be provided. In addition to helping reunite lost pets with their owners quickly, licensing your dog helps keep our community healthy. One of the major goals for dog licensing is to prevent the spread of rabies. Dogs must be vaccinated to be licensed. Lifetime licenses can only be purchased at City Hall or by mail. Your dog must be microchipped to be eligible for a lifetime license. I would like to thank Treasurer Kaz Kwiatkowski, Assistant Treasurer Ed Williams, the entire Treasurer's Office staff, and our friends at City Grows for making this happen. If you have questions or would like to find out more, please call the Treasurer's Office at 814-870-1210. Finally today, I'd like to take a few moments to reflect on the historic action that City Council approved last night to fix a major problem in the City of Erie's finances. As you know, last year, as part of the early intervention process, PFM identified three major financial problems facing the city. First was the pension problem, which had caused the pension cost to double in the previous 5 years. The millions of dollars per year increase in pension costs was ended last December when City Council approved adjusting the pension assumptions. Second is the city's annual structural deficit problem, where new expenditures exceed new revenues by at least 10 times every year. We're addressing this one during contract negotiations with our unions, which make up about 90% of the city's budget. Salary and benefits to employees is about 90% of the city's budget. Third, last night, City Council approved the huge step toward ending the city's long-term pension problem, and they agreed to two actions. First is extending the Erie Waterworks lease for 10 more years to 2060. Second, they allowed them to prepay the lease as soon as they can borrow the funds. This historic action allows us to put an end to the city's long-term debt problem by allowing us to dramatically pay it down. Last night's major action will benefit Erie taxpayers by substantially reducing debt service for the next 18 years, which reduces the need for future tax increases as well. Here are the long-term benefits that City Council approved last night. We will be able to reduce our debt payments over the next 18 years by $101 million, from $167 million to $66 million. That includes principal and interest payments, down $101 million. That's a huge savings for city taxpayers. Our annual debt payments will be reduced from $9.2 million per year, starting in 2022, to about $3.5 million per year. That's a savings of $5.7 million every year for the next 18 years. This change, net of the loss of the Water Authority's payments, since they're no longer making their annual payment to us, saves our budget $30 million over the next 18 years. The exact number is $29,761,972. That's an average annual savings of $1.7 million per year over the next 18 years. In addition to the lease payments, the Water Authority has agreed to pay the city $2.5 million in points at the closing. So that'll be an additional $2.5 million we receive from them. Last November, when we first presented this idea to City Council, the Erie Waterworks lease payment, prepayment, would have been about $90 million. Because interest rates have come down due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the savings I just presented to you are based on the city receiving $95 million from the Water Authority. If it closed today, we would actually receive a little over $101 million. But what we will actually get will depend on what happens with interest rates over the next couple months. The more we get, the more debt we can pay down. Besides paying down the debt with the vast majority of this money, we'd also would like to set aside $15 million of the Water Authority's lease payment to help us with short-term debt problems over the next 2 to 3 years. This would allow us to avoid any kind of tax increase, at least for the next 2 years, maybe even more than that. There are also some short-term benefits we had to take into account to this. We really did this, though, because of the long-term benefits. That's why we originally brought it to council, and that's our primary purpose for this. But for the short-term benefits, because of COVID-19, we're anticipating a 2020 budget shortfall of about $3.3 million. We're working on other potential sources of funds to cover this deficit, but we may have to use some of the Erie Waterworks money. It's possible. It's not financially wise for us to dip into, the city currently has a surplus of about $10 million in reserves, but we also don't want to raise taxes on city residents. By setting aside a portion of the Erie Waterworks money, we eliminate any foreseeable need for a tax increase until 2023 at the earliest. Setting aside this $15 million for city's financial needs over the next 2 to 3 years is extremely important for a number of reasons. First, many of our residents are struggling right now and cannot afford a tax increase. Second, it buys us some time while we work to increase revenues, reduce expenses, and expand our tax base by attracting jobs and people to Erie. And that's a major work we're doing right now, but it gives us the time to do that. Third, it's very unwise for us to use our reserves because we should have at least 3 months of expenses in reserve in case another emergency occurs. It is much better for the city and for the city's financial health to build the reserves rather than draw on them. The Water Authority Board will be deciding and voting on the lease payment at their meeting this afternoon. If they approve, they will start the process of obtaining a loan with annual payments equal to their future lease payments to the city. This process will probably take about 2 months. We will use this time to continue working with City Council to get their approval on how these funds will be spent. We want to accomplish 2 things with this. First, eliminate the city's long-term debt problem, as I described earlier. And second, help us recover from COVID-19 and at least go the next 2 years without any increase in city taxes. I'm so excited about City Council's action last night. To be honest, I didn't sleep well last night. I didn't get to sleep till about 2 o'clock, and I woke up at 5 this morning. I was ready to go again. I really thank them for making this vision reality. I look forward to working with City Council over the coming months to firm up how this lease payment will be used to help the city financially over, most importantly, the long term, but also the short term. Thank you very much for being here today. That ends today's press conference, and both of us that spoke are available for interviews. Thanks very much.